Good day, I'm Oliver too. My wife and I both immigrated from Taiwan around 11 to 12 years old, some 30 years ago, and have resided in North Carolina for more than 15 years. We're raising two daughters to be bilingual and biliterate in Mandarin Chinese and English. They are 8 and 11 at this point. Some of you do not have Chinese heritage, while many of you are second-generation Americans whose parents immigrated from Taiwan, China, or Hong Kong. Your parents mainly speak Mandarin, Taiwanese, or Cantonese at home. For simplicity's sake, we will use a commonly used term American-born Chinese or ABC to refer to second or subsequent generation Americans of Chinese heritage. Some of you are married to spouses who speak Chinese or some Chinese, while others have spouses who speak little or no Chinese. I will refer to our American-born and raised children as heritage children. We have had some success so far, and I established a Facebook group earlier this year to build a community of like-minded parents. I would like to share with you some of what I have learned throughout the years. For the presentation, I will refer to the Mandarin Chinese dialect as simply Chinese. Since you're watching this presentation, you are likely either a parent or educator with similar interest. By now, all of you have witnessed the historic rise of the People's Republic of China over the last quarter of a century. The speed of its economic achievement is unprecedented and breathtaking. Here's China's GDP growth since 1964. Her GDP was worth $9,240 billion in 2013. The GDP value of China represents about 15% of the world economy. China's GDP per capita, when adjusted for purchasing power parity, was $1,554 in 1990 and reached an all-time high of about $11,500 in 2013, a 7.4-fold increase in one generation. Some of you have watched Mark Zuckerberg's first public Q&A conducted in Chinese in China in October of this year. Here is a short clip.
我很高兴来北京，我爱这个城市。我的中文很糟糕，但是我的天，试一试用中文。我可能需要练习。
Well, a lot of practice you will need. Not very good his Chinese is, as he said, though I applaud him for his effort. Some of you read that famed commodity investor Jim Roger moved to Singapore a few years back to raise his children there so that they can be bilingual. I will show you a short clip of his daughter, Happy Roger, doing a fantastic job on stage 4 years ago.
大家好，我是快乐罗杰斯。今天我要向大家表演2个节目，第一个是板凳摇。
I wonder how she is doing now. Well, here's something for a good laugh. This is a very poor English translation of a Chinese sign. This means, be careful, don't fall into the river, 小心坠河, not carefully fall into the river. As most of you know, it is highly unusual to see an ABC who has fluent command of spoken Chinese in their teens and beyond. I personally only know one such person, but then again, I don't live in California. If you know any, please contact me. So, from the onset, my wife and I were determined to raise our daughters in extraordinary ways to achieve the extraordinary. I'm very pleased to say that we have done well so far. Here is a 1-minute clip of their Chinese New Year video at the beginning of the year. Please feel free to skip ahead.
2014马年到，万马奔腾景壮观，新年迎来新气象，快马加鞭都争先，马到功成事业灿，昂首阔步涌向前，愿你马年福禄寿，新年快乐阖家欢。冬去春来年复年，花开花谢迎马年。 万马奔腾前程赶，事业顺利无磨难。扬鞭策马向前跑，年年岁岁吉星照。马年福瑞常相伴，龙马精神得意笑。马年到，新春闹，开开心心生活好。祝福你乐逍遥，马到成功喜气大。谢谢。
Before we get started on the specifics, I want to go back to the previous slide and go over the timeline of China's economic reform and arrival of Chinese-speaking immigrants to the US. In the 1970s, China concluded Cultural Revolution mid-decade and started economic reform toward the end of the decade. The first-generation adult immigrants of this era are often graduate students, and many came from Taiwan. They later became parents in the US and probably were much more focused on English than Chinese. They established many weakened Chinese schools along the way, which have relatively fewer resources compared to what are available nowadays. Telecommunication, travel, and technology were 1970s style. As a result, most second-generation heritage children of this era have limited Chinese proficiency. These second-generation ABC would be around 30 to 40 years old now, with young third-generation children who are typically less than 10 years old. Many of you probably belong to this group. In the 1980s, China's economic prospects become more evident. There was ongoing arrival of first-generation immigrants to the US. Their second-generation children are now around 20 to 30 years old, and some are just about to have children. At that time, there were many 1.5 generation youth immigrants from abroad. These 1.5 generation youth immigrants are now around 35 to 45 years old, and many are bilingual and biliterate as a result. Their 2.5 generation children are now around 5 to 15 years old. We belong to this group of parents. In the 1990s, China had ongoing reforms with large-scale privatizations in the late 1990s. The first-generation immigrant of this era have second-generation children who are now around 10 to 20 years old. The 1.5 generation immigrants of this era are now around 20 to 30 years old, and some are about to have children now. Therefore, it is most likely to find teen or young adult ABCs who have learned Chinese well, with a good long-term result amongst second-generation heritage children whose parents witnessed the rise of China and immigrated to the US in the 1980s and 1990s. Unfortunately, even amongst this group, true bilingualism is rare, much less biliteracy. So why is Chinese so hard to learn in America? The Foreign Service Institute of the U.S. State Department listed Chinese as one of the most difficult languages for native English speakers to learn. It is a Category 5 language which takes about 2,200 hours of instruction to achieve minimum professional proficiency level or level 3, with level 5 as being functionally native proficiency. Spanish, on the other hand, is a Category 1 language with about 600 hours of instruction expectation to achieve the equivalent proficiency. In other words, in the same amount of time it takes to learn Chinese, one can just about learn Spanish, French, Dutch, and Swedish. There are over 40,000 Chinese characters, but most of them are seldom used today. These are the coverage rate in general media for the most commonly used characters, though the exact percentages varies depending on the source. Knowledge of the 500 most commonly used characters covers about 75% of the characters used. Knowledge of 1,000 characters has coverage rate of about 90%, while 3,500 characters has a coverage rate of about 99.5%. 1,600 characters would have a coverage rate of about 97%. However, character does not equate words, which are often made up of 2 or more characters. So, it is not just the number of characters that count in terms of literacy. According to a study that I found, the basic number of characters needed for daily life in Taiwan is about 2,300 characters. Those with knowledge of less than 470 characters are considered illiterate. Those with knowledge of 870 to 1680 characters are considered semi-literate. Those with knowledge of 1680 characters and up with basic writing capabilities are considered literate. A web search on the learning targets for students in Taiwan and mainland China showed the following. The first row indicates the recognition target for the number of characters for each grade of elementary school students in Taiwan. The second row indicates the target for the number of words that are made up of character combination. The third row represents the result of a survey conducted on a sample of students in Taiwan testing their character recognition. In reality, students know about 50% more characters than the official target. As you can see, the official target by the end of second grade is 800 characters and 1,200 words in Taiwan. By the end of fourth grade, the target is 1,600 characters, though the average student knows about 2,600 characters. In mainland China, the target for character recognition is higher for each grade level, though the students in Taiwan and mainland China may recognize similar number of characters by the end of elementary school. As you know, mainland China uses pinyin phonetic system with simplified characters, and Taiwan uses zhuyin with traditional characters. In Taiwan, elementary school textbooks stopped adding zhuyin in 5th grade after learning about 1,600 characters by the end of 4th grade per official target. So, knowledge of about 1,600 characters seems to be the minimum desired level, which is official learning target by the end of 2nd grade in mainland China. I have been told that smart students in Taiwan can read the Chinese edition of Harry Potter in 2nd grade, similar to smart students in the US for the English edition. From my own parenting experience, a child will be interested in reading comics without phonetics after learning about 500 to 600 characters well, and can start reading simple young adult novels without phonetics after learning about 1,200 characters well. However, these require that the child has done plenty of reading prior to that stage and has more extensive knowledge of words and phrases. Now, let me show you what a 1st grade book, 4th grade book, and comics read like in Taiwan. This is a book about a 1st grader. The beginning reads, 我毕业了。嗨，各位好，我是君伟，我从幼稚园毕业了。园长颁给我一张奖状，上面写的是言行大方奖。妈妈告诉爸爸，那一定是指我在学校很爱讲话，很调皮，又说等他上小学1年级就会很惨。Here, the same boy has grown up and is a 4th grader now. The book reads, 升上4年级的第一天，我从床上醒来，想到的第一件事就是我长大了。回想我1年级的时是多么傻，居然以为学校很可怕，校长是世界第一伟人。现在我当然知道总统比校长更大，而学校也不再是神秘兮兮的境地。我连哪一棵榕树上有蜂窝都了如指掌。可是长大代表的意义是应该高歌一曲以示庆祝，还是应该为漫长的未来开始担心呢？想到这里，10岁的我望着镜子里的自己，忽然有些感伤。Here are the first 2 pages of the first book of the iconic Japanese comic Doraemon. It starts off like this. 过年真清闲，今年一定是好事连连。那可不一定，30分钟后大熊会被吊起来，40分钟后会被火烤。是谁在说话？快出来！没有半个人在，好可怕。So, if Chinese is so hard to learn, why do it? Certainly, bilingualism has many benefits, including family bonding, travel and cultural knowledge, expanded social options, expanded employment options, but not necessarily better, and possibly higher neurological and cognitive function. Personally, I believe that raising bilingual and biliterate children in Chinese and English demands a hefty opportunity cost. The advent of artificial intelligence's amazing recent advancement in real-time speech-to-speech translation will likely further raise opportunity costs in the future. Here is a video clip of Microsoft's technology in 2012.
Again, the results are not perfect. There are in fact quite a few errors.
结果并不完美。他们集体反复改错误。
There's much work to be done in this area.
在这方面有很多工作要做。
But this technology is very promising.
用这个技术很有希望。
Those are pretty good translation with decent syntax and pronunciation, better than Mr. Zackenberg's Chinese. Imagine what it will be like in 20 years when we'll likely have iPhone 16 matched to a small visual device with augmented reality, such as a specialized contact lens. So what does success mean in raising bilingual and biliterate children? The US State Department has its own language proficiency definition. Level 3 by age 18 is where I'm most interested in. In terms of speaking, it is the ability to speak the language with sufficient structure, accuracy, and vocabulary to participate effectively in most formal and informal conversation on practical, social, and professional topics. In terms of reading, it is the ability to read standard newspaper items addressed to the general reader, routine correspondence, reports, and technical materials in the individual's special field. My own goal in my daughter's Chinese education is as follows. By the time they enroll in college, they can still do the following. Number 1, listening. Understand colloquial conversation and mass media at 5th to 6th grade level. This likely include most TV shows, soap opera, and basic news reporting. Number 2, speaking. Converse in Chinese fluently and comfortably for extended period of time in non-technical and non-professional arena, only adding occasional English words or phrases. Number 3, reading. Read comic books in Chinese fluently and young adult novels competently without phonetics. Number 4, writing. Know how to write Chinese characters with the right stroke sequence even without having learned it before, and be able to do simple writings at around 3rd grade level. I believe this level of command in Chinese would be equivalent to about 5th grade level in predominantly Chinese-speaking regions, will allow them to further their study to professional level if needed in the future, and be able to effectively guide their own children to learn the basics in Chinese as well. Instead of the 10 to 11 years to achieve this level in Asia, we attempt to do so in about 18 years. Obviously, these are extremely high standards in the US, likely achieved by very few families and children, regardless of intelligence, will, or resource. We live in small-town America with the closest medium-sized Chinese enclave about 1 hour away. We have used or attempted all means imaginable to us to achieve our goal, including: Number 1, we converse with them in Chinese more than 90% of the time. They speak Chinese with us as well. Number 2, we raise them on Chinese editions of Disney and other cartoons and Japanese animation. In Chinese, of course. Number 3, we raised them on Chinese pop songs and KTV well before they started listening to English songs. Number 4, they spent about 3 months a year in Taiwan with their grandparents from 1 to 6 years old, then about 6 to 8 weeks yearly afterwards. There they attended preschool and audited classes in public school. Number 5, we had 5 Taiwanese au pairs over 6 years when our elder daughter, Charlotte, was 4 to 10 years old, and my younger daughter, Georgia, 1 to 7 years old. The au pairs and my daughters only spoke in Chinese, and au pairs gave them Chinese lessons 5 days a week, and read with them individually several times a week. Number 6, we homeschooled them for a year and a half with 2 classes conducted in Chinese when Charlotte was 8.5 to 10 years old, and Georgia 5.5 to 7 years old. Number 7, we purchased various Chinese educational materials, tons of books, and comics. iPad and Kindle have been very helpful as well. We update our library every year to 2 with new age-appropriate books. When I was little, I had to read comics covertly behind my dad's back. Now I buy comics for them to read. What a difference. So far, my daughters still converse with each other in Chinese 80 to 90% of the time and enjoy singing and listening to Chinese pop songs. They enjoy watching various Chinese cartoons, soap opera, and movies such as 还珠格格 犬夜叉 珍珠美人鱼 神雕侠侣 倚天屠龙记 and 笑傲江湖. Charlotte has been reading young adult novels without phonetics since 10.5 years old and Georgia has been reading comics in Chinese since she turned 7. Here are some of what they read. These are some of the books Georgia has been reading. Books with Zhuyin phonetic notation. Here are some comics. Some of them are on iPad, many available for free. Then here are some of the young adult books Charlotte has read. Here's Twilight on Kindle. She particularly liked Ender's Game, shown here, but found Starter a little too difficult to finish reading. Here's a picture of my mother-in-law visiting us from Taiwan last month. We went hiking at a nearby park. It was heartwarming seeing Charlotte walking hand in hand with her grandma, chit-chatting all the way through the 90-minute walk, all in Chinese. This level of bonding would not have occurred had Charlotte not been fluent in Chinese. This happens too rarely for heritage children with grandparents who live overseas.